May the words of my mouth and the meditations of our hearts be always acceptable in your sight, O Lord, our rock and our Redeemer. Amen. Please be seated. So in many ways, it is quite fitting that we remember the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. on his birthday, of course, and that his birthday is in the season of Epiphany. Epiphany, coming from the Greek and meaning appearing or revealing. And the gospel stories of this season describe various events that demonstrate or reveal this divinity of Jesus. And we are reminded how we are called to reveal Jesus in this light of God's love in our lives. And we are each unique, and each one of us reveals this love and light of God in our own way. In our reading from St. Paul's first letter to the Corinthians this morning, St. Paul shares that there are a variety of gifts, but the same Spirit. And these different gifts of the Spirit are given by the same God for the common good. Such gifts as wisdom, as healing. And we each have our own God-given gifts. For some of you, one of your gifts might be the love of singing, or of painting, or of drawing, or playing a musical instrument, or the gift of being a very good listener and friend. God gives us this wide variety of gifts to be shared with others for the common good. And just as we have unique God-given gifts, we are given, usually by our parents, but not always, but usually we are given by our parents unique names. And your name is important. You might be named after a beloved relative, or elder, or a respected figure in the community, or in history, or from the Bible. And your name might mean something such as one who perseveres, or one who is a messenger of God. But the names that are given for you are important. They distinguish you from anybody else and reflect your character. And when I baptize a baby or a young child, even when I know them and I know their name, I will ask the parents to name this child so that their name is said and heard at that very special time of being baptized and marked as Christ's own forever. And last Sunday, we heard about Jesus' baptism and how God said and named him, "You are my son, the beloved." And we also heard in our reading from the prophet Isaiah when God says, "Do not fear, for I have redeemed you, I have saved you, I have called you by name, you are mine." Your gifts and your name, they are all important. So when Ms. Jeanette Adams wrote her poem, which we will hear in just a couple of minutes, she put a lot of thought into the words she chose for each letter of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s name. For each letter, she chose a word that speaks to the character or accomplishments of the Reverend Dr. King. And just as each letter is part of the whole spelling out of one's name, each quality or accomplishment, when we put them all together, gives us a glimpse of the whole person. This poem is Ms. Jeanette's gift to the Reverend Dr. King and to all of us. Her love of writing poetry, I see as one of her God-given gifts, and one she shares generously with all of us. She shares for the common good. A couple of months ago, I shared how the children of our church school class made cards for parishioner Henry Robinson and thanked him for the 2 benches that he and his son Robert had beautifully and lovingly fixed and restored and repainted for St. Mark's, and which are now in Carroll Hall. And the children expressed their gratitude for Henry and Robert's gifts and their service to St. Mark's. Well, the Robinsons so appreciated and were so moved by the children's cards that they made a wooden carving for each and every member of the church school class. They carved each of the children's names. And there is one here for each member of the class. And I think Charlie, who I don't think is here today, is probably the longest one. But they are just so beautifully and lovingly made here. So after the sharing of Ms. Jeanette's poem, each child will receive their gift from Robert and Henry. And for our children, I hope that as you look at each letter in your name, you will think about which word for the quality or characteristic or accomplishment that you would like to be behind each letter. And each one of us can ask that about each letter in our own names. And how do we reveal God's love in our ways, in our own God-given gifts? As the Reverend Dr. King reflected, life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others? Everybody can be great, he said, because anybody can serve. You don't have to have a college degree to serve. You don't have to make your subject and verb agree to serve. You only need a heart full of grace, a soul generated by love, the love and light of God. And so now I ask our church school children and helpers to come forward for the presentation of Ms. Jeanette's poem. And after the presentation, I just want to say for the children who are in the class, after the poem, to please stay here so I can give you your gift.
Glad you read this. All right, hopefully hold up your letters. Are you all in the right order? Are we spelling the name? I think yes. We are. Okay, so when it's your turn, we're going down the line. You hold up your letter. There is the very carefully chosen word from Jeanette on the back of each letter, and if you could just read that out loud, loudly, that would be great. Finn, you want to start? Okay.
Eternal.
Righteous.
Minister. Articulate. Reassuring.
Teacher.
Intelligent.
Help leader.
Understanding.
Tolerant.
Humanitarian.
Exceptional.
Triumphant. Kind.
Industrious. Noble laureate.
Gentle. Just.
Role model.